Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to MGID Talks, India. I'm your host, Pankaj Sharma, and we are back with another interesting topic, which is most important for the digital marketer: customer journey mapping, how to optimize the ad performance and customer experience. With our special guest, Mr. Dhananjay Sahasrasbuddhe, Vice President, Pixelated Egg Digital Ventures. Dhananjay has over 13 years of experience into managing brands and integrated communications with the primary focus on digital marketing. He is the vice president at Pixelated Egg Digital Ventures and have previously worked with companies like Amura Marketing Technologies, MTV India, Mullen Low Lintas, Red Fuse Communication, Social Wavelength, and many more. He has been managing and leading teams for running successful marketing operations and experience of planning effective campaigns and also developing procedures, services, standards for business excellence. Hi, Dhananjay. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Pankaj. Thank you for the kind introduction. I would just like to add, it's awesome to be here. It's great to have a talk with you. It's a topic of a very interest of mine. I've worked a lot in customer journey mapping and used it extensively in my field. Currently, as well with Pixelated Egg, we use it very extensively to map not just the consumer facing part of it, but also how do we reach out to them in the best manner possible. So thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So in order to set the context right, let's first try to understand what is customer journey mapping. So customer journey mapping is a process of creating a visual storytelling, a map of every engagement your customer has with your brand or product, from awareness to purchase and beyond. And these map illustrate all the places and touch point customers come into contact with your brand, online or offline. And they help you look at your brand product and process through a customer lens so that you can visualize the little journey through the funnel. So going back to the old days in the late 90s and say as early as 2000, digital marketers' understanding of the customer buying process was heavily based on the traditional linear customer funnel.
Right.
So can you tell me how has the customer journey changed over time in digital?
So, like you rightly pointed out, firstly, it's changed over a period of time. The initial amount of touch points available to a consumer were TV, print, radio. When it shifted to digital, it was again very specific. I had my website, I had my social media, but not each of them were potent enough at that point of time to carry all the processes or accommodate all the phases of the journey within themselves. The largest change that I've seen over the last few years is each of these platforms. You take a website and it can act as a great piece of awareness improvement platform from that phase right to the last phase, which is advocacy. In between about research and conversion as well. Considering it's e-commerce is something now which is bread and butter for majority of the brands. Similarly, we move on to any other so say device level journey improvement. Now each household has about 4-5 devices connected, right? We have TV, which is digitally enabled. We have our laptops, which are of course net connected. We have our phones, which we are constantly on. All of these devices also enable a great journey. And I again want to touch base to the point that you told about, which is about we being brand allowing themselves to express. As a marketer, my job is to tell the best story possible for my brand. And all this detailed consumer journey mapping has done is allowed me more opportunities to tell story. So in all, it's a very happy scenario for a brand. Yes, it's more work, but if you love the thing that about it, then it's great. You have stories to tell, you have people to talk to, and people do appreciate the fact that if it's a good story, if it's a good if it's in line with what they want, they will lap it up. There's never a dearth of good content.
Yeah, as you rightly said, that today marketers understand the path to purchase is not a linear as the funnel model would have us believe. So buyers have more ways to interact with the businesses than ever before. And the focus has shifted from getting people into the funnel to delivering an exceptional customer experience.
True.
So please help us understand, how do you create manage and optimize different type of ads at various stages of customer journey for higher engagements?
So, journey wise, let's get into it. Let's go phase wise. Now, the first phase being awareness. What's my job over here as a marketer? My job is to ensure my message is reaching to the most number of people, to the most relevant number of people, and in a decent frequency wherein they understand what I'm saying. So there, my optimizations kick in. These are beyond. So these are something that are above the fold, as we call it, which is beyond. Before the user is onto my website, or I'm interacting beyond my domain of my website. So there, my job is to get them to my website so that I can have them more. They can, I have more information about them. I have more understanding about them. So there I optimize to clicks. There I optimize to best reach. Is the CTRs perfect? That is where my focus lies primarily. Now when they're doing research and when they're onto my website, my job is to how much time has been spent. So what kind of, so if I'm leading them through search, what kind of keywords are leading them over there? How do I ensure that more and more searches are I am present in the most intent heavy keywords and keyword with the largest search volume? So my optimizations kick into that part, and also to ensure that more and more. So if they've read a blog, if they have, then how soon can I show them a form so that they fill in something, I get their email ID, then and I have them for life. The next part is, of course, after purchase or during purchase, my my optimization is focused purely on how do I ensure that the product is added to the cart, or the product the billing happens faster. There's quick checkout. All those kind of focuses, which is more to do with my website functioning properly rather than the ad or the communication that is presented to them. Yes, throughout I have to be true to my brand and talk in the same tonality and manner. That's where the marketing parlance kicks in. But overall, it's more to do with great customer experience, as we call it. Beyond that, when it goes to advocacy, especially, it's more about how best was their experience, and can they get me more customers like them. Now, if somebody like this has reacted more, I will probably create lookalike audiences out of it. And then the optimization again kicks in with what kind of messaging, what are the click-through rates. So it's a cyclical process, and it continues doing that. So there are dropouts in each of it, and I try to minimize the dropouts. So yeah, that's where the focus is.
Actually, in fact, perfectly you have defined the overall journey from when he's offline to online and the first interaction. As you rightly said, the customer these days want their experience with the brand to be connected and seamless. As you said, there are multiple devices, so they expect companies to know and remember who they are and what they are looking for, even across multiple touch points, so that they can pick up where they left off without having to repeat or clarify their needs, what they are looking for.
I'll also give you an example in the sense of, so for example, if I'm selling a car, and there, if search is a very important aspect over here. But in search also, I have to ensure that I cater to, because search is a part now, it's not just into awareness, or it's just not into consideration. It can be beyond that also. So for example, if it's an awareness-led ad that I'm showing to someone, it should be around, the messaging should be around the best so and so that I'm looking for. So if it's a hatchback, the best hatchback available, or with the best safety rating, for example. In the consideration phase, it could be about the features. Then there will be comparisons. Okay, so this car has better features over here. So the comparative things I need to present. In the decision making part, eventually it will be service centers near me, dealers near me. So as a marketer, even we have to be these optimizations. So these are not really optimizations if you look at it, but these are ways in which I have to be. So there's no optimization here wherein I'm tweaking something. I'm adjusting the bid, or I'm adding a few keywords. But here the optimization is at a thought level, which is about being aware. Okay, these kind of searches will happen. So I, as a marketer, need to be aware of it and be prepared.
So in fact, as you rightly pointed out, as there are so many different ways for customers to experience your brand, the idea of figuring out all potential touch points may seem daunting at first. So, tell me that in what ways can advertiser plan their media for better customer experience?
Okay, so I'll skip the obvious part, which is, there you can't skip a Facebook and a Google right now, purely because the number of people present on it. Yeah, but there are certain parameters beyond that which will help you choosing, publishers which go beyond. For example, what's the number of audience that you would want to reach? If you know that amount, if you know your funnel properly as a marketer, that to convert 100 people, I need to reach X. To reach to X, I need to be shown to, X plus Y. And for that Y, I need to, therefore, if that metric is clear, then you choose, okay, this is the best place that will give me my audience that I'm looking for. For example, currently I am working on a fashion brand, which is a sustainable fashion brand, and the pricing of that product is decently high compared to its competition. So I know for a fact that I'll have to go beyond a Facebook and a Google. We are looking to reach out to Amex card users. We are looking to people who have, say, subscribed to Cred. This is something that we need to be open to. Now, where do I get them? Probably I'll also get them on Facebook and Google with the interest piece, but there are databases available. So suddenly emailer opens up to me. Now, this is, while it's not I don't know why emailers have a bad name in the industry. I think it's one of the most fabulous medium, especially since COVID times. It's given fabulous results. But yeah, so we need to focus on these aspects. So audience plays a role. Of course, budget, which is, budget determines a lot of things. So if you have that spare budget, if you have something that will, reach, then plan it with the audience, the conversion goals that are defining what each medium will do, defining what each publisher should get you. Not all will get you leads, not all will get you conversions, but they are important to generate that particular impressions. With that theory of, you need at least 6 impressions or 12 impressions to convert a customer. So check where they are. How frequently do you want your message to reach? That's very important. There are brands like, heavy advertising brands like a Swiggy or Netflix, who don't mind reaching out to you multiple number of times. They can afford that, so use that wisely. But there are other brands who will say, okay, let the frequency be down. If they don't get me in the first or second time, probably they are not going to be interested in me. So I would rather reach out to some more users, because the pool is high. But the more niche you get, I think frequency matters. So that's another call. So, these are certain factors beyond, of course, like I said, Facebook and Google, which we need to. And the other perspective to this, to one perspective, are these factors which are determined by audience and budgets and everything. The other is owned media, earned media, and paid media aspect. What's my stance on each of them? What's my level on each of them, so that I can take that call? How I'll say, how attractive am I on each of them? If I have a great social media presence, that solves a lot of things for me. If I have great budgets, the paid media will kick in better. So yeah, so these things we'll have to weigh on.
Yeah, as you rightly said, also it becomes a difficult task, but you can make this easier by putting yourself in the customer's shoes and walking yourself through the journey step by step, and understand the audience on a different platform, that how they react. Possibly my behavior on Facebook will be totally different when I am on LinkedIn, or for that matter, I'm reading some blog post, or for that matter, reading some article piece. So I'm sure it is also important that, looking beyond those platforms, and, looking at maybe context is more important here.
Yes, context is important. Relevancy is important as to what kind of messaging goes along. Like, very importantly, like you said, I don't behave the same when I'm on Facebook, even on Instagram. Leave aside LinkedIn. LinkedIn, though, I'm very much, serious in nature per se. But my behavior on Facebook and Instagram is different, because the product on offer to me is different, right? So I need to talk to them. On Facebook, it's still going to be much more community driven, while Instagram is still focused on me and how I look at it. Hence, the more visual, the more engaging piece is Instagram. How do I react to stories? How do I build on stories? There's a lot more personalized content at play on Instagram. Yes, Facebook has added stories and all, but the acceptance level is way different compared to. So all these things, yes, very rightly.
Yeah. So, today is the world of performance marketing, and what happens is that each and every advertisers expect certain ROI. Okay, leaving aside the sales, or the end objective is definitely sales. What with respect to ad performance, what should be the most important objective for an advertiser?
See, primarily as a marketer, this is where I get into the, I'm an old age marketer in that sense, because for me, advertising always does three primary things, which is to inform, to remind, and yes, to a slightly level to purchase, but it's more on the line of persuading, I may call it. So it's inform, persuade, and remind. If as a marketer my job will be, how do I, in today's day, if I have to convert that, those particular words, inform is nothing but awareness, right? We need to continually keep building awareness, as especially in a market like India, which has billions and billions of people. So we need to be relevant every day with a new story, with a new talk, and still be in their consideration set. The consideration set is where the persuasion comes in. How am I better compared to someone else in my category? Because I can persuade you better, I have better stories to tell. Of course my product has to be better. And the last is to remind. Now and then I need to remind people, like examples like a Parleji never reaches in a marketing sense to any of its consumer to go and buy. There's no need for them to do that. There's a potent offline distribution network of this. What they have to do is constantly remind and persuade and be in the consideration set. We're there. We're still the number one biscuit in the world, and it's household, right? So marketing, the Amul is another such example. But to reach there is something, it takes time. It happens through consistent brand building, consistent storytelling, consistently being relevant in the consumer's mind. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I feel.
Yeah, also, I think you touch upon all the aspects. And one of the other key aspect here is maybe loyalty expansion or brand advocacy. That is
Yes.
something brand will be focusing, wherein I become an influencer in the larger world and try to speak the language of a brand. Or when I recommend a certain brand, that is something that area every brand wants to be or will like to be.
Oh yes, definitely. Word of mouth, if that leads to me being an influencer of sort, because I purchased a flat and I recommended my friend also, and he went and bought it. For a marketer on the brand side, technically that lead or that conversion is free of cost. Or in one cost, like if they've got me say for 1,000 rupees as a lead, they've converted two people in 1,000 rupees. Well, I have done the marketing for them, and that totally depends on again multiple brand level aspects, which is how good is the brand, what's the kind of presence they have, how good is the product, how is the customer experience. See, in a physical world, it's all the more easy because you are there, you can physically see what the customer is reacting. In a digital sense of it, it becomes all the more difficult, and hence all the more exciting for a marketer, because now suddenly I don't know you, I have not seen how you are reacting to it, but I still have to be relevant to you. So all those things come into play. It's a great dynamic to operate at. And like you rightly said, so now from there, if the loyalty kicks in, if the advocacy kicks in, it's brilliant. That's like the epitome of marketing, I would say.
So let's talk about data. So how does data help to understand the media at a different level of the funnel?
I would say data is the reason we are getting or digital has developed to the level it has, right? 4-5 years ago, till about 4-5 years ago, we didn't have that kind of data on offer, or people couldn't see the benefit of it. But since that has kicked in, since that understanding has kicked in, I think every marketing campaign today survives only and only on data. Why? Which is the thing that I should put my budget on? I'll give you an example of MTV also. While MTV is out and out a channel, we used to release a few promos of ours on social media before, and we used to A/B test, which is reacting better, and then we used to pump money beyond the one that is doing better. That is how it's. So this is a very preliminary level of data understanding. But now, similarly, we do that. So the fashion brand that I was talking about, we got to know through data that people find the pricing is expensive. People were through our campaign, people were landing onto the website, people were reacting to it. But when it comes to adding the product in the cart, or when it came to buying finally, there were dropouts. People, it was clear indication, after 3-4 weeks, we could pinpoint and say, okay, pricing is an issue. Without data, it wasn't possible. We would have been shooting in the dark saying, you know what, the colors don't work, or, this is not a product. I don't think so. But now I have a clear cut. Without data, it's absolutely not possible to come to these accurate conclusions and thereby make my campaign, make my messaging, everything sharper. And here it's if you see, it's not just restricted to messaging. It goes beyond that. Now I am changing the whole consumer experience. I would now call out, because I'm hoping we reduce the prices. That's a call the brand will take. But if they do, what we have also realized is people react to pricing in a certain way. So how should I claim, or how should I go and talk to because it's a sustainable brand at the end of the day. It's not your regular fashion brand. So how do I change my talk around it? Data will give me those numbers. What are the kind of searches that are happening? Thereby, I will improve, I'll put my messaging. Okay, what's the competition talking about? What are the kind of hits they get? So if without data, it's always, I'll say correct. Marketing without data is like gambling, and not the game of poker. That's still science, the other one. So data is immense. It helps a lot.
So in fact, as you pointed out, data help us to understand how customer behaves, what path they take while navigating your website, or with specific sources, mediums, campaign, geographical locations they come from. Also, that information about the price was a very typical point in order to arrive at a decision making. Yes. And in order to best understand the customer, organization needs to develop personas, really get into the customer's shoes, so you understand how they behave, including likes and dislikes, what they do not. Although everyone is unique, these customer profiles provide guidance and input for the journey mapping, as you pointed out in the example sometime back. Yeah. Okay, so as a marketer, maybe like you are expert into doing those kind of campaigns, and you have worked in various domains. Can you share some key tactics at various stages of marketing funnel, which marketers can use for during the customer journey or reaching out to users?
So honestly, we need to understand our consumers, better at each level. The more we try and understand them, the better it is going to be in terms of, how we talk to them. So for example, in awareness, while it's the most simplest phase, your messaging can't be complex. It shouldn't be layered. It should be as simple as possible. Build your awareness. Know your objectives of that particular phase. The objective is what? The objective is to create an impression in the minds of the consumer and probably get them to your website. If you get those things, it genuinely, of course, with the right messaging, not with the wrong one, but if that's core of it, right? So the strategy or the tactics are to keep it simple in this phase, to keep, if it's a beautiful, like if it's a fashion product, show the product in the best way possible. Talk about what it is, and rather than talking about all the complexities around it, probably people will just feel overawed and not go for it. So let's stay simple over there. Then on to the next phase, which is how do you build this kind of so if we add on to the previous point, which is about how do we build this kind of awareness. So SEO plays an important role, because it's organic. It will show you results a bit late, but if you invest more in that, it's going to stay with the brand for a long term. And it's, of course, it's going to help in lowering your CPCs and all those things. That's the other advantage that it will have. But more than that, it's more to do with, how beautifully can you view a story in the simplest manner possible. Create a community on social. Let people engage with the brand. That is more important in the awareness phase. How do you create people who will vouch for you, will talk about you? Bigger brands like a Netflix and a Swiggy does that beautifully. Zomato does that through its emailers. That is insane. We've got to learn from these kind of brands. In the consideration phase, or the where we research about brands and the options, how do we make our brand as the most compelling brand? How do I ensure that I'm the most sought after in my category?
Correct.
If I have to go again phase wise in this part, we'll have to look at SEO or PPC. Target intent, higher intent keywords, target keywords which will focus on getting you to the next level rather than using the long tail ones which will take time. But we need to be very specific over here. Now, if it's about, emailers again in this phase, how can I get that open rate up? How can I be creative over there? This is the time to be much more creative, because the more I feel, the more personalized your message is, the more creative you should be as a brand. Which is, many of them go opposite, but I feel so, because if it's personalized and yet I'm creative, I think my consumer will be much more involved with me compared to the others. As we go ahead now into the final, which is about on the website where conversions are happening, how easily can I, make the consumer see the product, buy the product, and move out? If I make it too complex, it's only going to create confusion. If I show too many options, it's again going to create confusion. How can I show something specific, what they're looking for? If I'm landing through a particular keyword, how can I make it specific? Okay, you search for so and so pair of jeans. Here are this. By the way, here are a couple more options.
Yeah, personalization.
Yeah, how can I do that? That's something that as a marketer we should focus on. Last, a point which you touched upon, which is about loyalty. How can, now that a customer has been, now from a someone who I was marketing to is now a customer, how can I convert him into a marketer for me? How can I get that testimonial out? How can I get that review out? How can I push him to get me one more consumer by offering some more discount? These are tactics which are spoken enough but not implemented enough. These are very simple tactics. They need to be, and if we keep doing that, I think 90% of the job is done. It's just that it's too simple to understand, but too difficult to implement, kind of things. Yeah, so that's more about it.
Yeah, in fact, it's very interesting to understand the overall customer journey mapping, and especially at MGID also we have our inbuilt algorithm which actually look upon that various interests a user has it, and it customizes that based on the user interest. So customer journey maps gives a business a way of getting into the customers' heads, helping them gain value, insights, and understanding regarding the common customer pain points.
Yes.
And customer journey maps needs to have a purpose and should be actionable, measurable, and dynamic. This allows you to ensure the effectiveness and determine the success over a period of time. So this is very important. As you rightly said that we talk about it a lot, but it's very difficult to implement. It's like a long journey. It was an fantastic experience to have you here. It was like a lot of value adding, and you touch upon the various aspects of digital marketing and how to use the customers and understand them better in order to target them better and personalize the message on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was lovely interacting with you. These were really good questions, made me think a lot, and I hope I've added value in the discussion, and hopefully the viewers like it too.